Okay, I am packing up, getting ready to go. I'm really excited and really nervous all at the same time, but it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a long day. I've been carting the kids around like crazy. It's 7 o'clock now. I still need to finish packing, need to put the kids to bed. I'm gonna go to my sword fighting practice for like an hour or so to get some movement in before I go, and then I'm gonna drive the many hours to get there. It's gonna be a night. Let's go. Good morning. So I am working here trying to figure out where I want to start. I think I've showed this to you. I can't remember, but this is my rough plan. So you can sort of see that all the blue is character work, the green is world building, and the pink is working on my magic system. And so ideally, I'm going to be working all morning here. I might go out and hang out outside a little bit if it gets warm enough, which I should probably check the weather. But my main thing and my thing to start with every day is character work until the afternoon when I start like hitting walls, you know, getting overworked, if you would. So at that point, then I'll start switching into some other stuff that'll be, I don't want to say more fun, but like because it's different and I haven't really worked on it that much, it'll be fun. So the character development stuff has been a bit of a challenge because it's not something that I've done like this before, right? Like I've done, for my main characters, I've done the full like story genius thing. Sorry, I don't normally have cereal in the morning and the milk is like, I don't know, gunking up my throat. But for story genius, you know, you'll figure out like their goals and work through their origin scene and their crossroad moments and like the escalating ticks up to, you know, the inciting incident. And I've done all that work, but I've never really dived in that deep. And, you know, I've been filming some of this process and trying to figure out character sheets and cheat sheets and how I want to do it all. And it's honestly like a lot, and not like a lot as in a lot of things to do. It's more just like my brain struggles to wrap around it a bit. And so one of the things I was looking at leading into this weekend, right, is I was looking back at project planning, which if you'll recall, like all of this is post outlining. So like I don't need to outline yet. And also I have a second section here for group 7 that's characters and dialogue, and we're up here on character prep. So like, let me go and look at exactly what that is. That's group 7. But it's like, I don't need to have all this figured out. I can be a little bit more focused because group 6 is society. Okay, so that was something I was thinking about if I needed to like really flesh out all the pieces of society before I like if I need to figure out like the academy and like the hierarchy of that and all the positions and all the side characters that are going to be there. And nope, that's group 6. And then group 7, characters and dialogue, that is characters, relationship arcs, dialogue cheat sheet, dialogue plan. Okay, so a lot of the stuff I've been getting a little bit overwhelmed by are all things that I'm going to do later. So then my question is, what am I even doing right now? Like, what was my goal? Because I've definitely gone kind of crazy. Okay. So I think my main goal right now was just to get an idea of all the members of the cast, the high-level character dimensions, and that sort of a thing. So I'm not even supposed to be going that deep into character right now. I'm still gonna, like, you know, I could probably wrap this up a little faster than that I was thinking, but I'm gonna still work on this, you know, this weekend and see how far I get, because the next thing I'll be going into is, let's see. Okay, so in the next section, I'm going to be working on structure and then doing my read-through of my Magic Forged book and working on that review guide. So that gives me a lot more wiggle room here. So I think what I really want to focus on is I don't need to do dialogue. I don't need to do character arcs. I don't even know what I'm doing right now, to be completely honest, but okay. Let's see, it won't get warm until like 2 o'clock. Okay, so it's not gonna get too warm today, but I'm gonna kind of keep on as I'm keeping on and see how far I can get, because I have my main cast, I know their dimensions, I know how they're gonna work together. So I think I'm just gonna like keep working on this, and then like I'll have less work to do later, maybe I can get through it faster kind of thing. So I'm gonna finish up with the character relationships I was working on before, which has been like, for each like combination of characters, I've been going through and just writing like their dimensions or like traits and how they interact. And then I've been grouping it into sections where I have their initial relationship, hostile, fragile, break, and then strong, sort of mimicking roughly what like the arcs would be of how the team is working together. And then I'm just putting some like traits of like, okay, like what are their first impressions of each other? Like how are they going to view each other with how they like present themselves to the world? Like once things turn hostile and they all start fighting, like what are they going to fight about? What are they going to like think of each other kind of thing? And then once they start to gain a fragile peace, what is that going to look like? But what is still holding them back? And then when they break, what's that, you know, heartbreaking moment that rips them apart? And then, you know, if there's any like qualities of their relationship once it's strong again, what does that look like kind of thing? So that's what I've been working on. I'm going to finish that up and then I'll think about what I want to do next. Okay, so I finished about, I guess what would that be, like an hour and a half of character development blocks this morning. And I got to the point where I finished all of their, like the relationship outlines I was showing you. I went through and did their origin and crossroad moments. Like I didn't full out write the scenes, I just kind of wrote like a high level summary of what happened in those moments. And then I wrote down the general like people they would know, like relationships with people outside the main cast, so like people that might be mentioned, might come up, etc. And then I started making some notes of like secrets and stuff like that if I had those figured out already. And so what I think I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get a little bit of movement in, stretch a bit. It's almost noon, so I am definitely a little bit behind on my blocks this morning, just in general, because I woke up a little bit later because I stayed up a little late and it just took me a while to figure out what I was doing. So I'm gonna work on that and then come back in, have lunch probably. And then I need to decide if I want to work on this a little bit longer and then do some world building mapping at the winery, or if I want to switch that, because I'm planning on going to a winery and getting like, they have a food truck there and some snacks and I can hang out and work on some stuff. So I might have that separate place be where I work on my world building mapping, but we'll see. But in terms of my movement, what I brought to work on right now is I'm starting a new style of side sword, and I'm working on this one, which is one of the Bolognese masters from Bologna, and this is Giovanni dal Agocchie. I need to work on pronunciation, but essentially it's all single side sword, but it's really good for learning how to actually spar with it. So I had been doing Iberian side sword, like double side sword, which is mostly just, these are things you do on repeat against, you know, low level enemies, right? Like if you're guarding someone, like, and you're in an alley, or you're doing this, like, it's more like drills, and that's, you just do those until you kill people, which in a sparring situation, when, you know, you're not just gonna kill them by hitting them, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of need more variety, because if you just keep doing the same thing over and over, like, they're gonna do something else, right? So this is with a hope to kind of be able to spar. So I'm gonna work through this, work on it with both hands. There's a sword and dagger section, so I can work on starting to incorporate the movements of one hand with the drills of the other hand, even though it might not work out exactly, because, like, it'll be two swords instead of a sword and a dagger. And then there's another Bolognese master who has dual side sword drills that I can then use, and then kind of work on incorporating all of it together. So it's going to be a long process, but I'm excited about it. It is weird because it's like, it's Italian, which is different than what we've worked on before. So all the words are different, the styles are different. Like, Italians are very, like, the Italian masters were very specific and particular and fancy. So I've gone through and I've, like, highlighted a bunch. I have all of my guards documented, all of my cuts, and then I'm working on the walking the guards drill, which is just kind of starting to work on the movement, doing it in both hands, of doing, like, you know, you step with this foot, you do these cuts, you end in this guard. You step with the other foot, you do this cut to end in this guard, you know? And it's just like that, so you should be able to go back and forth doing that. I can do it on the right side, I can do it on the left side. And I figured that would be a really good way to get some movement in that's not just walking, because I feel like I need to put a little bit more effort into that. But yes, so I'm going to go work on that for a little bit, like just enough to get some movement in, maybe like 20-30 minutes, and then I'll come back in and have lunch. Okay, so I got some pretty good exercise in. Like, I'm pretty warm now. But I think I'm really coming along with those exercises. I still need to really work on the technique and making it smooth and, like, making it second nature. But I started at the end, and I don't think I got a clip of this, but I started working on incorporating the second hand into, like, the right hand drill, just to kind of see if there was, you know, because I'm kind of familiar with the movements now, right? If there's a way to move it in. And I sort of played around with it, and I have a general idea. I'm just going to need to, like, kind of write it down as I go so I can remember it, but it's pretty cool. I'm excited. I feel like that was a really good idea. I feel a lot looser. I feel good. Like, I mean, my hand's a little red from, you know, this. Probably need to start doing drills in my gloves, though, so I break the gloves in and get used to it, but we'll get there. But yes, it is 12:40. It is lunchtime. Okay, I ended up just grabbing a granola bar and a protein drink, which I try to drink every time after I do a bunch of sword fighting stuff, because I don't get a ton of protein in my diet, and I think it's better to have protein, like, right after you work out. I think that's when the best, and I think my doctor said that you have to, like, consume a certain amount of protein at once for your body to process it, like, correctly and really build more muscles. So I try to do this because I think it's like over 20 grams. I don't know. I'm very unfamiliar with all this stuff, so if I'm wrong, please correct me. But yeah, so I try to drink this right after I work out, and then the next morning. It's like a helicopter. I don't know. I think it's gone now. I don't know if you could hear that, but there's a helicopter. Excuse me, there have been some wildfires around here at some point, so I think sometimes they just have helicopters, like, kind of taking a look at the area, making sure everything's good. But I decided I'm going to keep focusing on character stuff right now because I have more time. My schedule's a little bit weird, right? And this is all flexible, but it's 12:48 now, which was kind of around where I was supposed to end my second batch here, and then I was going to do lunch and stuff, but I've already done all of that. So I have a larger chunk here, so I'm going to go back into character stuff, and then at the winery, I'm going to do world building mapping stuff. And I have a list of things that I can do for that, so I need to think about it. I don't know if you can see this list here, but expanding on some of the society things, some of the societal groups, and then just in general working on maps. And I brought a few of my reference books on, like, I don't know if you could really call this like architecture or like that sort of thing, but I brought Indian Castles 1206 to 1526. And this is just a bunch of like, so it has maps of India, and then it has maps of like different buildings, mostly like fortresses and larger buildings like that. Methods in construction, castle design and development, like floor plans of different things, like they'll give you little tours of castles and stuff. And I'm not actually doing any castles, so I don't know if this one will be that useful, but you can get an idea of layout and sort of try and correspond that with smaller buildings. And then you can sort of see with these sort of buildings what the, architecture looks like, what the shapes are, like what the styles are, that sort of a thing. So, I have this to look at for that, and then I have Japanese fortified temples and monasteries and Japanese castles in general. And this will be good for the shape. Like, I don't want to use this style, like that visual style of, a lot of like Japanese buildings of this time. Like, I love it, but it doesn't quite fit into the society and the culture and the world I'm building. But the general like layout of things I'm leaning towards, because I want that sort of courtyard architecture. So I have these to kind of get an idea of some of these bigger buildings, especially the castle one, because I need to build a larger estate. So like here's a floor plan of a castle, and it talks about like how they're used and how they're built and like the history of these places. So I'm hoping this will be useful. There's some really fun ones too that are just like really neat. So yeah, so I have these to reference. I don't know, because the architecture that I'm kind of going for is a mix of that like dark academia, Victorian Gothic kind of vibe, mixed with this sort of more like warm climate, courtyard architecture, family kind of focused, like buildings and stuff. And so it's kind of a blend of all of those things where like styling, it's maybe a more like some of the like, more Indian architecture, whereas like layout wise, it's a little bit more similar to Japanese, and then the vibes are more Gothic, dark academia, right? But I need to figure out the right way to blend it all. So I need to do some sketches, and I started working on my map for like the main mansion. And it's just like, I just keep going back and forth on whether or not I want to go with the more Japanese, Korean architecture style where they have different halls and courtyards, and basically like, you might have a giant like walled area with all these different courtyards that are separated by walls and then have separate halls. So like, each person's quarters might be a separate like building, and the main hall might be a building here, and like all where it's all separate buildings, which makes sense. Like it would make sense. But then also when I look at a lot of the like more like Indian kind of architecture, it's focusing a lot on more like open spaces that are both inside and outside, like covered but outside. So you might like, it makes me think of these like big halls where like you have buildings that are in like rooms that are enclosed. You're on like, stone or like an inside feeling surface, but like part of it's just open, right? Like that sort of a courtyard versus like fenced areas, like walled courtyard areas with different buildings, versus having it all be like feel more like one building and have all these openings, which makes a lot of sense for a warmer climate to have, you know, the wind go through. And I think part of the difference with that is like, I mean, I don't know, both Indian climates and a lot of Japanese climates, like you have that monsoon, you have a lot more tropical in the areas I'm looking at, like where it's like wetter but warmer. I mean, not all of it, like you get into subtropic a little bit, but like it's less dry, right? And my area is definitely less dry, right? We're like monsoon kind of climates. So I don't know, I keep going back and forth on that, and I have a couple pictures that I got from Pinterest that I'm not going to share because I don't have the rights to them, right? But it's like, it's that very kind of cozy, right? Because I want that witchy dark academia vibe, right? So like large cushioned benches and like these giant like arched windows, like darker on the inside but just like open, and you have all this greenery, and like I really like that vibe. So I need to work on that and figure it out. And like, I don't know, it's just a lot of little things like that that I need to work on. But right now, I think I have enough information for characters. We're switching back over to talking about characters. I think what I need right now is to get into the super specific stuff, right? So I have the general stuff, right? Like this is this person, this is their lie, this is the way they feel, these are their triggers. Like I have all that like psychological stuff figured out, and I have the high level like backstory kind of figured out and what their role is and what they're good at. But I don't have a lot of like, there's really like textured specific details, right? Like, I don't know, this person really likes this game, like, right? And they play this game all the time, and they have their own special like copy of the board or something. Or like, you know, this character always carries around this ornament that means something, or like the dress styles, right? Like specific details about the way they dress that says something about them, that's not just like, oh yes, you know, they wear these clothing and it's slightly messy, right? I want it to be more specific than that. And it's not going to be the same stuff for everyone, so I need to just really sit and think about each character. I might like find some like inspo pictures and think about like what vibe I want them to have. Think about really specific details about their past, or things they know how to do, or things they like less relevant per se, right? But just super specific stuff. I think that's what I need to work on. And then once I have that, I'm not really sure what my next step will be, but that's what I'm going to try and work on between now and when I need to start getting ready to go to the winery, which is probably like 2:30. So we have an hour and a half. So that's like 3 blocks of time, which is pretty good. So I'm going to work on that some more. Okay, so I got more character work done. I kind of struggled with the specifics still. Like, I don't know, I feel like I need to get more into the plotting part of it in order to really know what that is. Like, I feel like that will, there we go, help me out a bit. So I'm all packed up to go to the winery. I'm going to work on maybe a little bit of character stuff, maybe some society world building stuff. I'm not entirely exactly sure what I'm going to do. It's basically going to be on what I feel inspired to do. So I might start with some character stuff again, and then once I feel maybe stuck with that, I'll go switch back and work with some societal maps. Maybe work on the temple, maybe work on that house map a little bit more. Just like the different settings that I want to have and the style. And it's a little bit hard because I feel like I can't spend a ton of time building out these like maps when I don't really know how exactly I want the architecture to work. So I might need to start there, make a decision, right? And then start fleshing that out. But yeah, and then I should get back like a little around 5, a little after. I think last time I went, I didn't last as long as I'd expected because the chairs weren't as comfortable, but I have like a seat cushion now, so that should help. So I'll do that, and then I'll come back, and then, yeah. It's going to start raining tonight, too, so after I get back, I think it'll basically start raining, and then most of tomorrow it'll be rainy, which will be a very fun vibe. I do love it when it's raining, so we'll see. But I'm going to, I'll have a few more minutes before I need to leave, so get ready for that. Yeah. It's a little after 5. I just got back from the winery. Wow. I didn't really film anything there. Like, it was a little weird. Like, it just felt weird to film, so I didn't. But I got some good stuff done. I mostly worked on some character stuff and how I think the characters will fit into the plot, and then a little bit of world building. I was drawing a, like, local area map, which then, like, this will be the map that is kind of the constraints of where the book will take place. So I can put in all the different, like, locations and setting that I need to put in there and kind of work off of that map going forward, which will be nice. I'm trying to decide what I want to do right now. Like, my back's kind of sore from that, just from, like, bending over. So I think I need to, like, lay back a bit more for a little bit, do some stretches. And I might take a little break and put something from my list of, like, inspiring shows to kind of give me some more ideas and to just, like, I don't know, to improve my, I don't know. Give me a minute to lay down. You know what I'm saying? So I think I'm going to do that. I've been pretty good all day, so yeah.